what's going on? Dale Valor's Inner Game podcast. Once again, back. It's the incredible. All right, so here's the deal, man. I'm really looking forward to this particular episode. I think it's going to be a good one. I got Emily Romano coming on with me. Now, Emily is a dating coach who specializes in NLP, meditation. I know she does breath work. A couple of different times when I've been out in Los Angeles, I've had the opportunity to have conversation with her, kick it with her, and it was a phenomenal time. And I ran into her last time I was out there, and I was like, yo, you need to come on the podcast. And she was like, absolutely. So we got that locked down. But for those of you that are new to the podcast, welcome. I think you're going to just get a ton out of it. For those of you who are back, welcome back. Because look, I appreciate you guys. I'm super ecstatic that you guys continue to come back to this podcast because look, what we deal here with is inner game and overcoming adversity, right? And I get questions from time to time. What is inner game? What does that really mean? And the way that I like to define it is like this. It's the relationship that you have with you. So look, if the relationships in your life are suffering, a lot of times it's because of the way that you are acting, all right? The way that you're presenting yourself to the world, So if you're dealing with something like low self-confidence, low self-esteem, you got those voices in your head that are telling you that you aren't worth anything. You're not able to be in the moment. All those things all speak to inner game issues. And that's what we deal with here. That's what we handle here. So you want to go talk to this girl, but you feel like you can't do it. She's so attractive. And here's little old you, right? Now, look, man, sometimes are women going to not be with it? Sure, of course. But listen, if you understand that the value that you bring to the table is something that is something that she should be attracted to, and you all have these components, you all have these intrinsic values. Look, she's missing out on a world of good by not talking to you. Why? Because you bring all this dope intrinsic value to the table. All right. So here's the deal. Oh, Emily's here right now. Look at that. So I'm going to let her in and then we will get it popping. All right. Okay. All right. Oh, there she is.
Hi.
Emily, how you doing?
Hi, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I can't express in words how great I feel.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, look, I got a book coming out in a little more than a week, and I'm super stoked about that. All the things that I'm doing with modern flirting and coaching guys and all that kind of stuff. Like I'm thrilled to be. I have to pinch myself every time I wake up. I'm like, I can't believe this is my reality.
I love that. Sorry, my AirPods are not connecting. Let me switch to an analog version.
Okay.
One second.
Right. No worries. Take your time. You can't hear me anyway.
No, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, by the way, I gave you the dopest intro ever before you came on. So, all right, we're good. You can hear me and everything's good?
Sorry. Good audio quality. So let me just, let me try this again. Sorry.
Okay.
Trying this again.
Maybe if you you put in one of the cordless and one with the cord.
All right. Says they're connected.
I can hear you. If you can hear me, we're good.
Now I can hear you from here. That sounds better. Is my voice more clear now?
Yeah, you're good. You might want to get a little closer to your mic, but you should be good.
Yeah. They're earpods, so I can't.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. You're fine.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So
Thanks for having me on.
I'm super excited about having you on, because I know that uh, I was out for a modern flirting retreat, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, something like that, in Los Angeles. And, we had the opportunity to talk for quite a bit at the bungalow. And then, seeing you the last time I was out there a couple of weeks ago, was super dope over at the, what's the name of that hotel?
The Mondrian.
Yes, that. So, you were there for the pool party. I was there for the pool party. It was awesome seeing you. We didn't get a chance to like really dialogue, but but it was definitely good catching up with you a little bit. You know what I mean? So, but one of the reasons I really wanted to have you on, okay, and whether you're aware of this or not, okay, when I was out there 6 months ago, and we were having a modern flirting retreat, and you gave, I mean, it couldn't have been more than 10 minutes of a talk over at the Airbnb where we were staying and things like that. It's kind of home base or whatever, however you want to put it. I had so many guys that came up to me over the course of that weekend that was like, yo, what Emily was talking about was so dope, and it helped me so much. And you only talked to them for 10 minutes, and like shit. I'm in front of these guys like hours a week. You know what I mean? And like, obviously I get feedback and I get testimonials and so on and so forth. But I was so impressed by what it was that you were talking about, and B, the effect that it had with a lot of the guys and how much it resonated. Because I'm telling you, I must have had 10 guys that I was talking to that was like, Emily helped me so much for this weekend. And like I said, I don't know if you're aware of that or not, but I want to let you know, that that's what happened, So I thought that was super cool. And I was just like, yeah, that's what's up. So when I saw you a couple weeks ago, I was like, all right, we got to get Emily on the podcast, So now, listen, I don't know like a ton about your backstory or anything like that, but how did you get into this? How did you get into this space of, working with individuals? And do you work with women, by the way, or no?
I do.
Okay. All right. I wasn't sure if it was like, you just work with guys or, you know what I mean? Like exactly what that looked like. But, how did you get into this space of working with individuals, when it comes to dating, relationships, things like that? Like what was the catalyst for that for you?
Yeah, I think that with people like us, there's an innate ability of understanding humans and love of humans. So there's that element of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I, when I was in my early 20s, completely left the career path that I had planned on going to and started matchmaking. Which was very strange, in hindsight to do,
Mm-hmm.
but it sounded exciting, and it was centered around people. And I was in politics before that. So,
what? For real?
Yeah, for real. Yeah. So I kind of had this like quarter life crisis where I was like, wait, this is not me. I want to work with people. And I got the opportunity to work in a matchmaking agency in Los Angeles, and I ran their office in Boston. And that was the crash course in human behavior. It was fascinating. So that's how I got in the dating space. I want to say it was like a happy accident, I guess. And then what I realized working as a matchmaker over the years was not only, how humans tick and how they operate, especially in the context of dating and relationships, but also just like these people don't need a matchmaker. They need a coach.
Mm-hmm.
So I became a dating coach from that. And I started my first coaching business in 2012, I believe.
Wow. 2000. You've been doing it that long. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. You've been doing it longer than I have. All right. All right. Very cool. Very cool. So what was the, I guess, all right, so you're in politics, and then making like that's quite a leap, between the two worlds, like that's I almost can't imagine a bigger divide between two different types of like career paths. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, hey, I'm going to get a job as a cop. And then you're like, no, I'm deciding to be a chef. You know what I mean? Like two totally different like worlds, So so you said working with people was the thing that was kind of the catalyst, but what were you picking up on that suggested to you that's like, this is a space that I could thrive. This is a space that, I really think that I can contribute to. Like what, I guess it's a two-part question. So firstly, what are the similarities that you see between the two? And then second to that, what are some of the differences? I mean, some of the differences, I guess, would be obvious, but unique to your experience, what would be the similarities and the differences?
Well, the reason I got into politics had a lot to do with my love of history, and my degree was in political science and communications. And that what we're talking about in the context of dating and relationships, or on a larger scale, is just dynamics between humans, power struggles, people wanting to get their needs met, whether that's I need an oil pipeline or I need physical affection. You know what I mean? We need to have our needs met in any level. And there are so many, there's politics in relationships as well, right? Mm-hmm. And we're bringing in our baggage from the past in both of those contexts as well, and our belief systems. And we're trying to form a healthy connection or a connection that serves both parties. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the similarity. You go to a committee hearing and you're hearing a bill talked about, and you hear both sides of it, the opposition and the people that want the bill to pass, and you hear both sides and you're like, oh, okay, how can we meet in the middle? And it's the same with relationships.
Yeah, I got you. So basically what I'm hearing is you're dealing with pain points and then you're looking for the win-win. Is kind of what I'm hearing, which also obviously transcends to dating, relationships, things like that. If it's a win for me and a lose for you, then it's not really a win, right? Yeah.
In NLP, we call that ecological. Is it ecological? It's not going to, same thing with politics. If one side feels like they didn't get anything from that, it's not going to be good for anybody.
Right. And which leads me to the next, point of conversation, NLP. I'm a huge NLP advocate, mm-hmm. And it's always interesting to me when I run into somebody who is hip to NLP. All right. I remember this was several years ago, but, I used to kind of tinker around with acting. And cool. I was in a couple of indie films, right? And one of the girls that was on, that also had a role in this particular indie film. You've done acting, correct? I assume, yes or no?
I've done commercials, but
okay, all right. So, but you'll understand what I mean. So, like with acting, it's kind of like it's a lot of hurry up and wait. You know what I mean? So like you're ready to do your scene, but your scene really isn't probably for 3 or 4 hours. So you're just kind of standing around, it gives you the availability to talk to a lot of the other people that, are also, a part of this and things like that. And, just kind of hanging out and having conversation. And I remember I was talking to this girl who was also in this film, and I mentioned something about NLP. And she was like, you know about NLP? And I was like, you know about NLP? Like, it's like almost kind of like this secret society of sorts. It's like it's really shocking when you run into somebody who's hip to it, that really knows what it is. Maybe a couple people might kind of like, oh, I've heard that before, but really, what is it? Like they might have like a very peripheral or very vague idea of what it is. And even that's kind of rare. But somebody that really knows what it is, that's something like it's always something that's like, what? All right, we gotta talk now. What you know about Richard Bandler? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's magic. It's really like the closest thing I can say is that it's like magic. And I agree with you. Someone in my family said, "Oh, I read a book about NLP," and I'm like, "Okay, you don't know anything about it. That's a book is not going to get in." You're right. It's like a secret. You have to be kind of initiated into it and taught, because if you're taught some of these things without context, it could be incredibly harmful and unecological, as we said.
No doubt. What is, and I know that you're certified, correct?
I'm a master level practitioner. Yeah.
Oh, la-di-da.
Yeah, get it right, Dale. Come on.
Like, I'm not certified in it, but I've been studying it for probably 15 years. I imagine if I probably wanted to take the course, I think I'd be just fine. You know what I mean? Like,
I have the same thing. Because I got into it when I first started with Tony Robbins, because that's the modality or what he uses, and I studied his stuff obsessively, like obsessed with him, and read every one of his books, and I thought I understood NLP. And when I went to that certification, I went three separate times to school to get different levels, and oh my God, like your brain almost explodes, and you're basically entranced the entire time you're in that program. So you're in school for 12 hours in that day, and it feels like it was 3 hours. And how did that happen? It's a wild experience. You would love it. You should do it.
Yeah, I've been thinking about. I just got my certification probably about 4 or 5 months ago on hypnotherapy. So
awesome.
Yeah, and NLP, type of hypnosis plays a huge role inside of that. And whether people in that industry, and I'm sure they do, but whether they realize it or not, like there's so many NLP parallels between those two worlds, but what do you say, as somebody that's a master NLP practitioner? You're like a ninja of NLP or a samurai or some shit.
Yeah.
What do you say to people? And I've had this come up, like people who like I'll give you a for instance, right? So there was a girl that I was dating for quite some time. And I was bringing up things about NLP because it's just been such a mainstay in my life, like I said, for like 15 years and maybe more. And so I would bring it up and things like that and try to help her kind of deal with some of, everybody's got their own personal issues and things like that. So, I'm trying to get her to, use some of the NLP techniques and things like that to help her overcome some of these obstacles that she was dealing with, And now this particular girl, very analytical, very logical, so she's like, okay, let me do some research on that. And then we can talk about it after that and whatever. So she does her research on it. And basically what she comes up with is, so I was looking into that, and it's what I'm finding is it's pseudoscience, and I was like, really? That's what you came up with, huh? So I started kind of researching on I guess what you might say like a normie level, and a lot of things that I was finding, different articles, things on Wikipedia, just here, there, wherever online, was pointing to it being pseudoscience. Now, I don't believe it to be pseudoscience, obviously, but there's a lot of things out there that make that claim,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever had anybody kind of like throw that at you. But if somebody was to throw at you like NLP is nothing but pseudoscience, it's just a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah.
What do you? What's your? I guess your comeback to that.
Well, I don't see myself ever being in that position because clients that work with me trust me and want to work with me. And the thing is that you could say a lot of things are pseudoscience. Even nutritionists, they can't agree on what the proper human diet is. And you might say, astrology is pseudoscience, even though it's been studied for thousands of years. And I'm not an astrologer, but all I'm saying is that I think that people in our culture, we want to say, oh, unless it's been a peer-reviewed study, unless we can double blind whatever, it's not real. But when you look at even the studies that, basically what I'm trying to say is I don't think I'd be in that position. And if someone did say that what I did was pseudoscience, they'd be totally entitled to their opinion and I wouldn't work with them.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. I got you. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like this girl that I'm talking about, she goes off of like the scientific method and all that kind of stuff. And she's like, if it doesn't hold up to that, then it's not real,
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like, what? Like, I don't know, like I've seen it help so many people. It's like, how can you suggest, I guess, that like, if it's helping X amount of people, how can you suggest that like, that is just not real? You know what I mean?
Well, it's all about ego, right? I'm also a meditation teacher and I talk about meditation a lot. And meditation has of recent been proven, with brain studies and stuff like that to be beneficial. Mm-hmm. But I think 15 years ago, if you were to say, oh, meditation will improve your health, it'll improve your relationships. Oh, that's pseudoscience. Oh, that's nonsense. Chakra systems, nonsense. Energy meridians in Chinese medicine, nonsense. No, everything's nonsense, right? And yet everyone over here is sick and everyone over here is depressed and they're on, medications that are not helping them. Meanwhile, people that are meditating, that have spiritual lives, are happier, they're healthier, they're calmer. So I personally feel like when I see something and I embody that in my own practice, like NLP changed my life. I was a traumatized person for most of my life. Mm-hmm. And when I began my work in the subconscious, like the real work, you know what I mean? Not reading Tony Robbins books, not reading theoretically Richard Bandler, whatever. When I actually went into trance and did that work, my life was never the same. I've never been the same. My clients have never been the same. I see the effects of it every day. So, and my meditation practice. So if someone wants to tell me meditation is BS, that's fine. If someone wants to tell me NLP is BS, that's fine. Come to me when you're ready, or just continue to do what you're doing.
Yeah, I got you.
How that goes.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
So I have different people that, I'll talk to from time to time. Mm-hmm. I'm a big advocate of meditation. All right. And, like you and I both know as people who have studied this and, know a thing or two. Not all meditation is the same, right? There's different ways of doing meditation, and what would you say to somebody who is basically like, hey, listen, like I've tried meditation. I just can't sit up there for 20 minutes and think of nothing, You
mean, so everybody, because that's literally what everybody says.
Right. Exactly. And I'm no different. I'm ADD as hell. You could probably pick up on that and me flailing my arms around and just be like, bah, 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 but like. I'm
flailing with you. And, so what I would say is that your mind is running all over the place because it's never been trained. It's like a puppy pissing all over your rug. Can I say that word here?
You can say whatever you want.
That's like a PG-13 like cuss word anyway.
Yeah, I know, right?
So this puppy, it's not sitting, It's pissing all over the carpet. It's shitting all over the place. It's not listening to you. It doesn't come when you call it. And then you say, this puppy can't sit. Well, really, whose fault? Is that your fault or is that the puppy's fault? Because I'm pretty sure the puppy's just being a puppy.
Yeah.
And your mind is the same way. And here's the deal is that meditation does not mean, I mean, when you're an advanced practitioner, yes, you would get to this point. But for the vast majority of us over here in the West, like that's not going to happen. You can never expect your mind to be sitting there and not be doing something. That is not what the mind wants to do. It's not what it's been trained to do. Your mind has been trained to look for and solve problems. Mm-hmm. And if it looks and it finds a problem, good, now it has a job. If it doesn't find a problem, it will just create one to feel important, right?
Yeah.
And so your mind also time travels. So you'll go to the future anticipating something where you have no power and worrying about it, or you'll go into the past where you have no power and wishing things were different or relitigating the past. The deal is, though, is that you can train your mind to do the job that you want it to do. And you can do that by giving it something to focus on. Mm-hmm. And especially at the beginning of a meditation practice, you will go off course so many times. So the way that I learned how to meditate was in a Tibetan Buddhist temple. And what we learned was Vipassana, which just means paying attention to the breath as it goes in and out of your body. Yeah. So the first thing that you would do is you would find a seat with your back straight, with your hips a little bit above your knees. And you would sit there and you would get ready for your mind to start fighting you, for that dog to try to run all over the place. And then you would say, no, I'm going to bring my focus back to my breath. Mm-hmm. Take a deep breath in, feel the sensation, deep breath out, feel the sensation. Mind juts to the past. You notice it jutting to the past, and then you gently bring it back. Deep breath in, breath out, mind juts somewhere else. Bring it back. Oh, I have an itchy toe. Bring it back. And your meditation practice for probably the first few months will just be redirecting, just like a puppy. How many repetitions do you have to give that puppy, when it's not doing what you're telling it to do? You're just training your mind like a puppy.
Yeah, that's dope. I like that a lot. My mind runs 1,000 miles an hour, it's constantly, just like,
yeah,
on hyperspeed all the time. And to the point of where, I have sleep issues. Okay. Where, if I wake up in the middle of the night, it's a wrap. I'm just going to be up. It just is what it is. You know what I mean? Because as soon as I wake up, my mind starts racing, there's just so much going on, and so I'm like, yeah, I try to go back to sleep, but I can't relax my mind, I'll try different breathing and meditation techniques and things like that, but it's never been something that's been effective for me in going back to sleep. Okay. So what I tell people, because I encounter so many individuals that are similar in that sense, that I'm like, look, if I don't want to say it's impossible, because I don't like saying anything is impossible, but for me to sit and really just hyper focus on, just clearing my headspace and things like that is very, very, very difficult. Okay.
Yeah, it is. And you're not trying to do that at all. You're giving your mind a job to do. Mm-hmm. And expect that it will veer off course hundreds of times, thousands of times. And every time you do redirect and bring it back, you're a good meditator. You've succeeded. You've won. You're winning the game. And the thing is that people don't realize is that 80% of the information is going from body to mind, not from mind to body. Mm-hmm. What that means is that if your body is dysregulated, in other words, your nervous system is in fight or flight, which is, I think, where you chronically are in, we become addicted to certain emotional states. Yeah. So first of all, acknowledge that there's an addiction, and that you've probably never been in a state of parasympathetic where you've been able to deeply rest. That is actually why yoga was invented, why it exists. Yoga asana. Asana means seat. because we're looking for a comfortable seat to meditate in. So when you practice a yoga, as we know in the West is a physical practice, you are actually calming the body down so that the body can be a vehicle for meditation to occur in. There are other ways of achieving that. Breath work is one. I like EFT tapping, just physical movement. We want to make sure that excess energy is moved around skillfully so that the mind actually has any kind of chance of having, and I'm not saying stillness or emptiness, like that's the goal years down the line. What you want to be able to do is know that when I sit down and I face that resistance, I'm going to be able to redirect myself as many times as it takes. And maybe you only do 5 minutes. And maybe in that 5 minutes, you redirect yourself 100 times. Guess what? You are reaping all of the benefits of a meditation practice physically, neurologically. And every time you meditate, it's like a muscle, you get stronger. So like if I walked up to a weight rack right now and I looked at that 250-pound dumbbell and I'm like, oh, I can't lift weights. I can't lift weights. Like,
Right.
like that makes no sense. Like, why would I be able to do that if I didn't start at the beginning?
Right. I got you. Well, let me get your thoughts on this. So my meditation practice, and I do this daily. Okay. And I've been doing this daily for a long, long time. And generally when I get questions or if I'm talking about meditation or something like that, this is kind of the protocol that I break down. And I always tell people like this, listen, there's all kinds, do your own due diligence, see what resonates with you, see what makes sense for where you're at in your life and the way that you think and the way that your brain works and stuff like that. For me, as somebody that has a hyperactive imagination, instead of taking things away, I actually add things too. Okay. So for instance, this is part of my my morning routine. So when I do my meditation, what I do is I do a countdown in my mind, obviously, of from 30 to 0. Okay. And I'm trying to line up my breathing and trying to get out all the bullshit. You know what I mean? Like just the stuff that doesn't matter and the things like, oh, I got to do this today and I got to do that today. And I got to talk to Emily today. And I got to, you know what I mean? Like all the things that are wrapped up in my brain that that I'm cognitively assessing, like I'm trying to get rid of all of that, the schedule. Okay. And so, I line my breathing up with that countdown from 30. All right. So I'm counting my breaths from 30 down to 0. When I get to 0, what I do is I start imagining. It's like imagination land. You know what I mean? So I imagine that I'm on this super serene, calm, beach. I'm under like a little canopy thing or whatever. And I'm in a hammock. And I'm laying there and, I can feel the breeze and the temperature is perfect and all that. And I get up from this hammock. I walk across the sand. The sand's a little bit warm on my feet. And I can hear the rippling of the water up against the shoreline. And I can hear the breeze coming through the palm trees. And I can hear the birds and whatever else. And there's this little hut, this little tiki bamboo hut. All right. And it's got little stones, like a stone walkway up to this hut. And so I'm walking I'm walking through the sand. I get up to the stones and I'm walking on the stones and there's like a couple of steps up and I walk in the door. When I come through that door, there's a little button, like an on-off switch. I hit that button and a green light just comes over me, right? Just cascades all over me. And it's just, and I'm sweating out all the negative, all the nonsense, all the things that just really don't matter. I'm just kind of just sweating it out. When I feel satisfied with that, I turn it off. Then I walk into the next room. When I walk into the next room, there's a table set up. All right. On that table are big baskets full of pills. All right. And a big old glass of water that's like the glass is sweating. You know what I mean? And it's really cool and really delicious. And I'm taking a pill for confidence. I'm taking a pill for assertiveness. I'm taking a pill for energy. I'm taking a pill for cognitive ability. All right. So I take those 4 pills. All right. And then, inside, I'm feeling that energy. I'm feeling that confidence. I'm feeling that assertiveness, right? I'm feeling like, okay, I can see the forest from the trees, you know, like my cognitive ability is on point.
Yeah.
So then from there, I go into another room. In that next room is my counsel. All right. So whoever I kind of feel like is being an influence in my life from a, we'll just say from a mentor type level, whether that person's aware of it or not. Maybe it's somebody on YouTube. Maybe it's somebody who has this course out that I've been following, you know, maybe whatever. Or maybe it's somebody that I actually know in real life, you know, and I'm talking out with them the issues that I'm dealing with and getting their take on it and what I should do. All right.
This is incredible. And this is meditation, what you are, everything you're describing. Yeah. So like, you just told me you can't meditate, and then you're describing this.
No. I'm not saying I can't meditate. I do this every day. I'm saying the head type of meditation. You know,
but that's not realistic. That like what you're describing is so much better, and I think that you should make this a recording because I would listen to it. Because I'm right here with you when you're saying, "Oh, I'm going into the hut." I'm like, I'm like visualizing it. I'm feeling the air. Like, this is great. And you know what you're talking about right now is so important because it's like people do think like, oh, I can't meditate because when they think of meditation, they think of this like monk levitating. No, anytime that you're saying, listen, I'm in charge. I'm deciding what we're doing. We're going to the motherfucking hut and we're going to take these pills and we're going to feel confident. And we're not going to think about that shitty thing the guy in the elevator said yesterday. We are in the hut. And if you can do that, you are an amazing meditator. So I love that.
Yeah. So dope. I'm glad I get Emily's co-sign on this. All right. So then I walk out of that room once I've had my discussion with my people, my counsel, right? And then now I'm back into that front room where that light is again. Now I turn on that light and it's a blue light that comes down and it fills me with nothing but positivity. I've sweated out all the negative stuff. Now I'm just being filled with positivity. All right. So once I get done with that and I feel satisfied in that, I turn off the light, open the door, walk down the couple of little steps, kind of saunter across the sand, all hot. And there's a beach blanket that's laid out, right? And right by the water. And I lay down on that beach blanket and I just watch. All I do is just watch the clouds go by. That's it. And just relax into that until I feel like, okay, it's time to come up out of this. You know what I mean? And then at that point, I'm done. You know?
Yeah, that's brilliant. And a lot of things that you just described are very similar to traditional, Tibetan Buddhist meditations. Like there's one that I was taught where you're, as you breathe in, you're imagining a white light filling you up. And as you exhale, you're imagining smoke leaving your nostrils, like you're breathing out all the negativity. And then, with a green light or a blue light and a red light. And the clouds is something that is used often as a metaphor for, when a thought comes into your field of awareness, it's like a cloud. Don't attach a story to it. Just notice it and watch it float away. So yeah, if people give themselves permission to say meditation can look like however I want it to look like. And, I love that you're so creative and that you're bringing in all of those stimulus from the external, like from like your sight to the sound to the way that the sand feels, like you're making it so real. I think that's incredible.
Oh, well, dope. Thank you.
Yeah.
But, and I have found that by just simply doing that meditation practice, like early in the day, like I said, it's part of my morning routine. I have found that really sets me off good for the rest of the day. You know what I mean? Because like I'm coming into I took my pills. It's like taking my vitamins. You know what I mean? And I'm good to go. I can get out here. I'm assertive. I feel confident about myself. I feel like I'm capable, you know? And so I have found that to be something very, very beneficial for me in just getting things done throughout the course of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is. And that is the best time to meditate in the morning. And the second best time to meditate is any other time.
Right.
You know, like I think people are like, oh, I can't meditate. I don't have enough time. Do you have 5 minutes? Okay, then you have enough time. Oh, like I can't get my mind still. We're not asking you to do that. Oh, okay. So that excuse is gone. The real reason people don't want to meditate is because people don't want to be uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And the reason why it's uncomfortable is because they've never done it before. Like riding a bike was uncomfortable the first time you did it, and driving a car. Like, right. And here's the other reason, and I think actually the stronger aversion to this is that people are so routinely unkind to themselves. There is that voice, the ego, the monkey mind, you know, whatever you want to call it, that says stuff. Like it never has anything nice to say, and always picks the most disempowering narrative, and it's just generally unhelpful and cruel. And if somebody spoke to you the way that your inner voice talks to you, you'd be horrified.
Oh, yeah, you would knock that fool out in a second.
Exactly, and then you tolerate it.
Yeah.
But you just sit here and you take it when it's from your mind. And so a big part of the meditation journey is just noticing. It's not making it wrong. That's another thing is like, okay, so like if that voice comes and it says, you're not shit, you're lazy, you're stupid. Okay, I'm just going to notice that those are judgments. Mm-hmm. I'm noticing them. And then I say, thank you for letting me know. And I let them go.
Yeah.
And it's just becoming the word for meditation in Tibetan Pali means to become familiar with. You want to become familiar with what your mind is doing. And your mind is often, people don't want to meditate because they don't want to hear that voice. They don't want to be left alone in a room with someone who speaks to them like that.
Right.
So that's, I think, one of the reasons people don't want to meditate.
You know, I say this all the time, and I love what you just said there. I say this to people all the time. Whatever you resist persists, you know? So if you are hanging on to, or rather, you know, you're hanging on to it, not because you want to, but it's just, you know, how can I word this? It's like when people get an idea in their head, you know, if it's something negative, which generally is, you know, let's be honest, you can't do this. You're like you said, you're lazy, stupid, ugly, whatever it is that that internal dialogue voice is telling you. It's like most people, I feel like they just accept it, you know, because they're like, well, I thought this, so it must be true. And my counterbalance to that is, how many times in your life have you thought something to be true that isn't?
Right. And honestly, there's no way that us human beings could ever even get a glimpse of what objective truth is. We are too full of bias. And I mean, like the visible light spectrum is like this big compared, you know what I mean?
Right.
There's to even imagine that we would have the ability to experience truth is laughable. And when a thought comes across your field of awareness, a lot of times, I would say 99% of the time, you're not going to be aware that that's happening at all because it's a thought that you've thought of a million times before. There's 3 options when a thought comes, especially a dark thought, right? You could either say, no, you're wrong. Stop it. That's not true. And now you're in a fight with yourself, right? And what, like you just said, what you resist persists. So there's that option. Now you're fighting with the monkey mind. Second option is like, yes, sir. Like the mind is like, you're lazy. And you're like, oh my God, you're right. I am. Like, oh. And then the third option is to just acknowledge it and maybe even question, like, is that true? Is that absolutely true? No, there's been times in my life that I haven't been lazy. Okay, so it's not always true. Okay, what's another way I could look at it? Okay, and then you would be shocked how many other ways your mind will give you just right off that one question. So like, oh, maybe instead of I'm lazy, like I just need rest. Maybe I'm overstimulated. Maybe I'm not lazy, but I just actually don't want to do this thing.
Right.
And I'm resisting it, but that doesn't mean that I'm lazy. And then when you kind of dig into that little thought just a little bit with curiosity instead of judgment, it loses all of that stranglehold power over you.
Yeah. I agree 100% with that. My take is this: engage with it. Like engage with, have dialogue with that voice. It's like, why does it got to be one way? Why is it always the negative voice telling you, and you're just being like, all right, you know what I mean? Like instead of just accepting whatever it is that pops in your head as gospel truth, why don't you have a dialogue?
Yeah.
Why don't you figure it out?
Yeah. Don't believe everything you think.
Right. Engage with it. Like, voice. I'm a big advocate of personalizing, the thoughts and the emotions, the feelings that you feel, and be like, okay, voice, why is it that you're telling me this? Why?
Yeah. So my favorite thing, so I have my clients name the voice. So one of my clients that just came to mind has named hers the Gremlin. And in that way, mine's called Mr. Scary. So yeah, Mr. Scary's here. So let's just say, let's go back to that thought about you're lazy, right? I like to ask the question, what does that mean? 5 times. You're lazy. Okay. Okay. If I'm lazy, what does that mean? I'm not going to get anything done. Okay. What does that mean? I'm not going to accomplish anything in my life. Okay. What does that mean? Nobody will respect me. Okay. What does that mean? Nobody will want to be around me. What does that mean? I will not receive love. So with 5 questions, you took that dark thought of I'm not lazy to I am actually terrified of not receiving love. And that's really why that voice is trying to keep you safe from living a life without love and connection, because love and connection is a human need. But we're not used to asking ourselves those questions. And so we walk around thinking that we're just lazy when in reality we're terrified of not having love.
Yeah, no doubt. Like it's so funny. Like this is such a great conversation because, literally you ask anybody that knows me, right? And they'll be like, if you were just to ask, is Dale lazy? They'd be like, are you fucking out of your mind? You know what I mean? Like Dale is the most hardworking dude in the history of work, And in my mind, I'm always like, am I being lazy right now? Okay, so I'm taking a little bit of time to watch a show that I like. And in my mind, it's like, why aren't you doing why aren't you recording reels for TikTok right now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or whatever, so like, and like my girl, like she checks me on that all the time because I'll be like, I feel so lazy right now. And she's like, you are literally the least lazy person I have ever met my entire life. Yeah. And
you know what? Like, I'd be really interested in when did you decide that you have to be constantly producing?
I can tell you exactly. For sure.
Okay.
I can tell you.
When was it?
Well, it's not a when, it's more of a what. Okay. So, like my dad. All right. And, much like anything, like we both know, like a lot of these things stem back to, childhood, formative years coming up, all that kind of stuff. So my dad, he's this always shocks people, but my dad's a World War II veteran. Okay. And like, I'm a little bit older than I look, but I'm not that old. Okay. But my dad was old when I was born. All right.
Yeah.
My dad was 50 when I was born. All right. So,
okay.
So like, how like most people, like their parents are a generation, maybe 2 ahead of them. You know what I mean? My dad's like 8. You know what I mean? So like when I'm coming up, my dad's the same age as most people's grandparents to great grandparents, depending on, if I was little to when I was in high school. Right. So my dad is of that mindset of like, like you go to work, Like, it don't matter how you feel. It don't matter how you think. It don't matter nothing. You get to work no matter what. And I do believe that that's a good mindset.
Yeah. But when your dad was coming up, they were also giving people lobotomies, right? So you have to ask yourself, like, is this coming from a school of thought that really valued the human experience and really understood the way that the human mind works?
And I get that. You know what I mean? But I do think that there's merit and value in what his philosophy and worldview is. Okay.
Sure. But yeah.
It also has to transcend to a world that has moved on since 1942. You know what I mean? So, suffice to say, like, I will outwork most of my peers for sure, without a doubt. Without, like, I get more done probably before noon than most people get done in 3 days. You know what I mean? But that being said, it's always a question of, like, am I doing enough? Am I capable of more? You know?
Yeah.
And so that's something I've always had to kind of juggle and try to, like, kind of, you know, try to figure out for myself. I think I'm in a good place now, you know, but like when I was, we'll say 10 years ago to 20 years ago, it was a little bit of a different story. You know what I mean? I'd be like, there's no downtime ever, never, ever is there downtime. You get to work.
If I were to guess, my guess would be that you believe that this sort of like self-flagellation, this self-judgment, you believe that it motivates you.
Yes.
So even though it's painful, even though it's maladaptive, even though it makes you addicted to stress and to cortisol, and even if there is a better way to get everything that you want done without suffering, you've subconsciously decided that that's the only way that you're going to get anything done, because that was how you were motivated as a kid.
Correct.
Basically through guilt and through being like disciplined and stuff like that, right? So
yes.
So I cannot in my work get anybody to subconsciously release a belief that they don't want to release.
Sure. But like for me, you know, like it's become a thing of more like this. I'm cognizant of it. I realize it. I get it now through all the self-help and all the, you know, all the NLP and all the, you know, just you know, that whole rabbit hole, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm cognizant of it and I realize it, but instead of resisting it as I used to do, you know,
yeah,
now it's more of a thing of like I was saying before, I dialogue with it. All right.
Yeah, and that's really good. And what I'll also tell you though is that doing, you know, when you work with someone, with a practitioner like me, what you'll realize is like where these specifically where those beliefs came from. Like it probably is linked to a specific event, and that there are other ways to achieve high performance without. Because the truth is that level of stress is not good for the body.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not being able to rest is really bad for the body.
Oh, I've definitely taken means to, like, basically like this. Most people, unless it's like a dire emergency, of course, but most people will not hear from me after 9 p.m. You know, like I just put my phone away. Like, that's it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm done. I'm done for the day. Like, usually, for the most part, unless the caveat being, you know, if I'm coaching in field, you know, like, you know, I'm at the bungalow and we're doing a boot camp, I can't shut it down at 9. You know what I mean? But that's, you know, that's kind of a misnomer, you know, but in the general sense, like when I'm here at home or something like that, 9 p.m., I'm done. That's it. Almost no matter what's happening, I'm done.
And I'm going to propose something to you as well, which is that this notion of your value as a person is dependent on your output of work, I believe is a vestige of, you know, probably like the Industrial Revolution, where, you know, we became factory workers, and it was, you know, how many pieces of you know, this gadget can you produce in an 8-hour shift. Mm-hmm. And then our school system was modeled directly after that. And you have like these periods and the bell rings and you get to go get your lunch and the bell rings and da da da. Right. And I need to produce. But that is just not the way that we were designed at all. Mm. And that's why it causes us so much stress and anxiety. And it feels so unnatural, is because we're not meant to be high producing all the time. Like, our hormones fluctuate throughout the day. That's who we are. We're human. So I want to give you like just the permission to say like, maybe some days I'm going to be really inspired, or some hours I'm going to be having a high output and achieving a lot. But if I'm not, that's just me being human and not being lazy.
Yeah. No, I get you. I'm with you 100%. I appreciate that. One question I really want to know, because I've had on women dating coaches, on the podcast before. Just today I released a new episode I did with Jamie last week.
Uh-huh.
But most of the women dating coaches that I've had on here and I've interacted with primarily work, like 99%, if not 100%, work with men. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is why I asked you, I'm like, do you work with women too? So what are some of the key differences that you see in what men are looking for with dating and with what women are looking for in dating?
So I first want to make the distinction is that I don't call myself a dating coach. I work with people on what I call it is breakthroughs. And some people want to do that around relationships and dating. But I work with people who a lot of times are coming out of really traumatic relationships or war even, refugee situations. Like I don't limit or niche myself in that way to dating coaching at all. Okay. But what I will say, because I do have a lot of years of experience to speak to from this, is
especially
that
as a matchmaker.
Yeah, exactly. And is that men are much more simple. They will basically, when I was a matchmaker, I could show them a picture, and the question that they're subconsciously, they're respectful, so we're not having this dialogue out loud, but the question is, would I have sex with this woman? And if the answer is yes, they're like, cool, I'll go out with her. That's really the only question that's being asked. And, when I interview someone, like, what are you looking for in a partner? Men will be like, I want her to be this age and this height. And I want her to, be this body style and this hair color. And what they're talking about is physical attributes almost completely. Mm-hmm. And when I have them do a pie chart of like how much of your attraction is based on physicality, it's like 90%. Women, on the other hand, and this is why most dating coaches and most matchmakers will only work with men. I'm just going to put that out there. And so with women, it's like, does he listen to the same music that I listen to? Is he kind? Is he empathetic? Does he love his mom? Does he love animals? Is he a Sagittarius? Like all these things. And women have a lot more to lose, from an evolutionary perspective when it comes to choosing the wrong mate.
Right, correct.
Men it's like, I'm gonna spread my seed, like make it rain, whatever. Women, if they choose the wrong mate, like that's life and death for them. So I think we're wired differently. And for women, I think a sexual attraction comes from an emotional connection. So what they want to do is they want to feel safe with a man first. They want to feel connected. They want to feel loved and respected. And then, that's when they feel safe having physical intimacy. Whereas with men, I don't think that emotional intimacy is necessarily a precursor to physical intimacy at all. Mm-hmm. So it's much different. And also, for both sexes though, really what it comes down to is like, what kind of relationship and attachment traumas have you had in your life? How are those impacting you now? Let's look at what those are. Let's go into trance, find out where you picked up all these limiting beliefs along your path, deprogram them, program in what we want to believe about ourselves. And then that actually ends up fixing all of these problems. Like I think the problem is, I don't know how to text. Like I'm really bad at communication. Really well, the actual problem is when you were 5 years old, you learned that using your voice wasn't safe. Mm-hmm. Because you got chastised in school for talking during class, and you were so humiliated that you subconsciously decided it's not safe for me to do that. And so like when we deal with that trauma that might be repressed, all of those other issues that are the not problem, they just disappear on their own.
Yeah, I get you. I really like that. I was just having a session today with a client, right? And, he's got some issues going on with, he's in a one-way open relationship with this woman. He's married and he's got this girlfriend, and both these relationships are just a shit show. You know what I mean? Like it's complete hurricane. You know, like it's just, I was just like,
Yeah.
oh my God, we got so much to unravel here. But the thing is that, you know, one of the things that I was telling him was this, is like, yo, you know, from based on what he was telling me, of course, there's two sides to every story, you know what I mean? But based on what he was telling me, is like it seemingly his wife has codependency issues and all this, that, and the third. And she's just willing to put up with whatever he does because she just doesn't want that sense of abandonment. And she doesn't have her own life. Everything, all her dreams and aspirations are all wrapped up in them, as opposed to her having her own things. And I asked him, I was like, yo, what is something like, imagine you got hit by a train today. Like what would she do with her life? You know, like, what does she like to do? What's her, you know, what would be her goals and aspirations and things like that? And he couldn't answer. Had no idea. He was like, well, I don't know. Like, she kind of likes to, you know, I think when she was a little girl, she wanted to be a singer or something. And I'm like, man, you got a lot to find out about your girl, man. You know, like, but that aside, you know, one of the things that I was telling him was this. I was like, dude, because he was like, I think the open relationship thing was due to a lack of abundance before he got married. Okay. And in the sense of, you know, like, you know, he just couldn't, you know, get dates and get a girlfriend and things like that. And the first girl that showed him any kind of attention, he was like, I'm in, you know, which is a lot of people's story. But I told him like this. I was like, look, you know, like I could resonate with that. I can empathize with that. I totally get where you're coming from. But, you know, when I was coming in to this space and I was, you know, fell down the rabbit hole of, you know, quote unquote game and all that kind of stuff, you know, like my criteria was really short. It was simply, is she attractive and is she nice to me? Anything else I can let slide. She on meth? Don't matter if she's attractive and she's nice to me. Does she steal my shit? Doesn't matter if she's attractive and she's nice to me. You know what I mean? So
most men are like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And like one of the things I was really reinforcing to him, and I talk to this with students all the time. It's like, man, that list needs to be far more extensive than that. That is a world of problems, you know? And
I've also got to say though, is that, you know, like if you say you make your list longer and you actually, you would have to be way more in touch with yourself.
Exactly.
Even make a longer list. And I sadly don't think we live in a society that encourages men to do that kind of inner exploration.
I do it.
But you're a coach.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's your job.
It's like this. You know, if, you know, guys got more in touch with what it is that makes sense to them and their lifestyle, you know, their purpose, where it is that they're trying to go in life. Is this woman that I'm talking to, is she an asset or a liability to where I'm trying to go? Now, that doesn't mean is she a good person or a bad person. It just means, does this person make sense for what I'm trying to do? You know, and if you keep that in mind moving forward, you're going to find yourself in a whole lot less of these scenarios like the guy that I was just talking to today, you know? And you
also, and people are also recreating subconsciously the dysfunctional dynamics they had with their own parents growing up. And that's completely unconscious. Like, we do not know that we're doing that. And so until you deal with that early life trauma, you're going to constantly, why do I always attract crazy chicks? Why is it that every girl that I am with like slashes my tires or cheats on me or like whatever? Like, it's because you've never dealt with your shit and you're just looking externally, and you like, if you're the common denominator,
right? Which,
you know, and I've had to do this with myself, and it's tough to take a look in the mirror and be like, oh my God, like I'm doing this.
Emily?
You know what? I wonder sometimes if dating chicks would be the answer to my problems, but I am a heterosexual woman, so yeah.
Like, well, that's out.
I know. I could just switch teams. I think maybe I would, honestly, because well, you know, whatever. I love men, I love women, but I think humans are the problem. It's just humans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
No.
now that aliens have revealed themselves, I think I'm gonna probably do that.
Oh, all right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Sci-fi waiting to happen. Science fiction
Yeah,
turning into
exactly.
reality. I get it.
Exactly. Give myself an alien boyfriend.
All right. So one last thing. I know we're running a little bit short on time here, but one last thing. That breathing exercise that you did at the retreat. Can you kind of break that down? Because I want guys to see that in a more, general or just, I just want to get it out there, as opposed to a captive audience inside of a living room at an Airbnb. Can you kind of?
I would love to. I teach this breathing exercise to my yoga students, to my meditation students. I taught it at the retreat in New York. Like, I love this one. And the reason why it's so great is because, like, with breath work, breath work is either like whiskey where it calms you down, or it's like coffee where it revs you up. This one is kind of good for both.
Okay.
And it's called the box breath. And it's something that has been around for a very, very long time. Mm-hmm. And so, you know what? I'm not going to explain all the neuroscience why it works. Let's just do it together, okay? And if you want an explanation back at home, why does box breathing work? You can just put it in your Google machine and they'll tell you. So what we're going to do is, and we'll add some visualization to it. This is the way that I typically teach it. And I know that you like visualization, so we're going to do that. So the box breath is 4 breaths. It's an inhale for the count of 4. It's a hold on a full breath for the count of 4, an exhale for a count of 4, and a hold on an empty breath for a count of 4. Now, as we breathe in, we're going to imagine that we are being filled with a white light that's coming in through the crown of our head and filling our entire body with white light. And as we hold that full breath, we're going to imagine that white light is just clearing out any impurities, anything that we don't want to take with us. And as we exhale, we're going to imagine is that all of that energy that we want to expel is leaving our body through the base of our spine or through the bottoms of our feet, through a root, like a cord connected to the center of the earth. Gotcha. And as we hold that empty breath, we're just imagining the rest of it filtering out.
One question. Would you recommend this sitting down or standing up? Or laying down?
Not laying down. Sitting up or standing up, but I usually do it sitting. I usually do it on the meditation cushion or yoga mat. So, so just make sure that you're seated straight and that, your shoulders are directly above your hips, your shoulders are open. And we'll do 4 rounds. Breathing in for 1, 2, 3, 4, holding that white light, allowing it to fill you up, and exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, sending all of that energy back to the earth. Let it go. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're holding that white light. It's filling you up. Hold it and exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold the empty breath. Send it back down to earth. 1 more. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, holding that white lid in, hold it, exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, empty breath, hold it, last one, deepest one, inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, take one more sip, hold it, that white light is filling you up, and exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, empty breath, let it all go. And you can bring your breath back to normal.
All right. And that.
How do you feel?
Great. Feels fantastic.
Yeah. Good.
For me, breath work is the next thing on the list. Once my book is out and I've got done doing the circuit of podcasts and all that, promoting it and all that kind of stuff, that's the next thing up for me. So
what you should do is you should really just start going to yoga classes, because that's going to help you shift into parasympathetic, which is going to help you sleep better. It's going to help you meditate deeper. It's going to help you learn that breath work. Like, a yoga practice is like by far a great place for anyone to start if they want to get into this kind of work. Highly recommend.
I've been to yoga before.
Uh-huh.
I have zero issue with the practice of it, and I get the benefits of it. I understand all of that.
Yeah.
I've studied it, done reading, watched videos on it, all that kind of stuff. I get why it's a thing. Okay. The issue, I guess, and maybe this is more of a me thing. I don't know, but the issue that I have with yoga generally, and I probably went 4 or 5 times, I think, it obviously don't make me an expert by any stretch, of course, but I think it's enough to know. And maybe it was where I was going, and I was going with a girl I was dating at the time. Okay. And my thing is, it just doesn't, I don't ever feel like as though that I fit in with the group of people that do. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a pretty rough and tumble dude. You know what I mean? Like, I'm loud. You know what I mean? Like, I always feel like I'm in a, trying not to sound as judgmental as I can. I always feel like I'm in a hippie commune. And that's just not my thing. You know what I'm saying? And
I think of the many like yoga studios are starting to do yoga for men. But you can do it in your living room if you don't really like the community, whatever. But I'll also say that I totally get that sentiment of like I don't fit in and that makes me feel uncomfortable. But you might have a little bit more in common with those people than you give yourself credit for.
Maybe, perhaps. And and everybody was nice. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't like a thing of like I felt like ostracized or something.
It clashes with your identity. I get that. You're like, I don't belong here.
Yes,
but here's the deal: is that yoga is this. I mean, I really give the same energy when I talk about yoga that like Mormons give of like, hey, well, do you have a moment to speak about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? It's like, oh my God, Emily, I get it. Like you do yoga. Yoga's great. My God, like enough. But the thing is that it is the single most transformative thing that I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
And it'll change your life. I mean, 4 or 5 times, I'll give you the recipe for actual change. And here it is that if you commit to really doing this and to seeing if it works for you, you can't say whether you like it or not until you do a month where you go to yoga every day.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Maybe you can take 1 or 2 days off, like 1 or 2, not a week total. Mm-hmm. But if you sign up for a yoga studio for 1 month and you go every single day and know that you're going to hate it for the first week or something, just like a meditation practice, you're going to sit on your mat and you're going to wish that you weren't sitting on that mat for the first week or 2. If you can push yourself through that resistance, I swear your life will never be the same.
Okay. That's what's up. And
yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right. So do you have anything like a program or anything like that you want to plug, promote, anything like that?
So I'm actually launching very soon a series of videos using EFT tapping, which is a modality that I teach all of my clients. And it's an incredible way to move through emotions. Like if you're one of the guys at the retreat at the Mondrian was about to have a panic attack, and we did an EFT session, and he got back to baseline like really fast. It stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. So I'm going to be launching that. If people go onto my social media, whether it's TikTok, I'm about to hit 100,000 followers, very exciting, or Instagram, way less impressive numbers, but still good stuff. You can go on the link in my bio and you will see my offerings, whether you want to work with me one-on-one or if you want to purchase that program.
That's what's up. I've got 10 followers on TikTok, so you got me beat by a mile. I can't get stuff to take off for nothing on that platform, I tell you. But
that's a story.
What's the best way for people to reach out to you to contact you?
They can DM me on Instagram, and my Instagram is Up Level with Emily.
Perfect. All right. Listen, Emily, I really appreciate you coming on. I think this was super dope stuff, super great information. And listen, guys, if what Emily is talking about resonates with you, all right, you're like, I want to know more about NLP. I want to know more about yoga. I want to know more about meditation. I want to know more about how I can breathe underwater.
Don't tell everybody I'm a mermaid. That's a secret.
You can't see her legs, but I'm telling you it's fins. All right.
Yeah.
It's like a fishtail and all that. So listen, get in touch with her. This is something that you want to do. All right. And I've like literally, I have seen it in person. Like I said, she talked for, it couldn't have been more than 10 minutes. Could not have been more. It's probably more than 5 to 8 minutes, something like that. And so many guys was like, Emily really helped me tonight with the presentation that she gave. And I feel so much better. I feel so much more confident about going out, approaching, talking to women. I'm not in my head as much. All I got to do is this breathing exercise, and I feel good about myself. Now I can get out here and do it. Get in touch with her, man. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna be a game changer for real. So reach out to her. And Emily, again, thank you so much for coming on. And that's what's up. It was a pleasure. And, we'll talk soon, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. It was so much fun.
You got it.
Peace. Okay. Bye, Dale. Peace.